When we picture modern warfare, we usually imagine like a highly calculated chess match, right? $1 billion destroyer moves, a multi-million-dollar stealth jet counters. Very symmetrical economics.
Right. A rook for a rook. It makes total sense.
Exactly. But introduce the concept of precise mass drone swarms, and that chessboard gets flipped. Suddenly, it is like trying to stop a swarm of locusts with a sniper rifle. So the central question we are tackling today is whether the rise of these cheap, mass-produced drones fundamentally breaks the economics of traditional defense, or, if layered interception strategies can adapt to neutralize the threat. I argue that highly affordable kamikaze drones make our current defense paradigm just financially unsustainable.
Yeah, and I contend that by evolving our defenses, layering both electronic and physical countermeasures, we are actively adapting to defeat these very threats. I mean, our defensive resilience is far from broken.
Look, when people hear the raw math on this, their immediate reaction is to panic, to think we have already lost the war of attrition. And frankly, they have a point.
Well, the math is definitely staggering.
Right? We are seeing one-way attack drones like the Iranian Shahad 136, built with a basic 50-horsepower motor you would find in a small motorcycle. Through localized manufacturing, they cost maybe $4,000 to $7,000 to produce.
Wow, so cheap?
Yeah, it is basically a flying lawnmower. Yet, to stop them, defenders routinely fire advanced Patriot interceptors, costing about $4 million a shot. When the resource equation is that lopsided, the traditional defense model simply bleeds out.
How so? The money is draining.
Because if my $4 million interceptor saves a $1 billion power plant or an entire military base full of personnel, I make that economic trade every single time.
Okay, sure. The asset value matters.
Right. The effectiveness of the interception supersedes the cost of the drone. Plus, militaries are not just fighting one type of threat. We face everything from those $4,000 kamikaze drones to $2 million medium-altitude long-endurance platforms like the Bayraktar TB2.
Which is a totally different beast.
Exactly. Defending against that entire spectrum requires multi-layered kinetic and non-kinetic systems, which is exactly what militaries are deploying right now.
I see the logic in protecting the high-value asset. But let us look at what happens when you face real volume. Because even if your expensive defense layers achieve an 80% interception rate against a massive drone salvo, that remaining 20% getting through is catastrophic.
Well, no defense is perfect.
True, but we saw this in Jordan. Long-range drones bypass defenses to destroy a highly sensitive early warning radar system worth hundreds of millions of dollars. The math dictates that the sheer volume of a precise mass attack will inevitably exhaust your interceptor stockpile. You will just run out of missiles before they run out of drones.
I am sorry, but I just do not buy that interception has to remain prohibitively expensive. You are focusing entirely on top-tier missiles like the Patriot.
Because they're our primary shield right now.
But we are already adapting with much cheaper kinetic intercepts. For instance, fighter jets are now using APKW rockets.
Wait, what are those exactly?
They are essentially cheap, unguided rockets fitted with laser guidance kits. It turns them into precision drone killers for around $30,000.
Okay, 30 grand is a lot better than 4 million.
Exactly. That dramatically shifts the cost-exchange ratio. And that is before we even talk about non-kinetic methods, like radio frequency jamming and GPS spoofing.
Which, let us be honest, are incredibly finicky in practice.
They can be, yeah. But when they work, they physically sever the command link between the drone and its operator. Or they scramble its navigation, forcing the system to crash or just hover harmlessly. And they do that without depleting a single piece of physical ammunition.
That is a compelling point on the mechanism, but let us be realistic about the limitations of electronic warfare. RF jamming and GPS spoofing are highly dependent on the electromagnetic environment. The signals weaken over distance, and bad weather can severely degrade them.
Sure, weather is a factor.
More critically, If you are defending a populated urban area, you cannot just indiscriminately blast radio frequencies to sever command links. You would cause massive collateral electronic disruption to civilian infrastructure, hospitals, and emergency communications.
Which is exactly why no one relies entirely on electronic warfare, right? It is a hybrid approach. When the electronic layers are not suitable for the environment or a drone slips through, we fall back on physical adaptation. A brilliant example is what the Netherlands is doing right now. They are deploying engineered steel nets over their 55-ton howitzers. It is an incredibly low-cost kinetic backstop.
Wait, really? A steel net?
Yes, because it creates physical standoff. When a drone hits that net, it forces the drone's shaped charge explosive to detonate early. The explosive jet disperses harmlessly in the air before it can ever touch the vulnerable armor beneath.
Wow.
Yeah. The defense adapts to the exact parameters of the threat.
I mean, even with steel nets and laser-guided rockets, the underlying reality remains. The unit economics of precise mass systems have permanently altered warfare. When building a lethal, precision-guided weapon is as cheap as building a riding lawnmower, the viability of traditional defense is just fundamentally challenged.
Challenged, absolutely. Broken? No. The evidence shows that our resilience remains intact precisely because we are not relying on a single silver bullet.
Right.
By layering everything from electronic command link severing down to standoff steel nets, defenders are actively neutralizing the threat.
Well, we do converge on one crucial takeaway, though. Conflating all unmanned aircraft into the single buzzword of drones, treating a $2 million surveillance aircraft the same as a $4,000 kamikaze wing, completely obscures the tactical reality required to actually defeat them.
Absolutely. We have to treat the spectrum of threats with the nuance they require. There is so much more to explore in the evolving data on unmanned systems, and we leave it to the listener to weigh the evidence and form their own conclusion.
Exactly. We have to look at the sky with clear eyes, understanding the unique mechanics of what is flying at us, before we decide exactly which tool we need to pull from the arsenal.